हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। Welcome to Iksha channel. Good morning to Iksha viewers. Now let us know about Upavedas. They are the ancient Indian texts that are considered as supplementary to the Vedas, the oldest and most sacred Hindu scriptures. Each Upaveda is associated with one of the four Vedas. Thus, four Vedas got four Upavedas. Rigveda's Upaveda is Ayurveda. Yajurveda's Upaveda is Dhanurveda. Samaveda's Upaveda is Gandharva Veda. And Atharvana Veda's Upaveda is Sthapatya Veda, or some people consider as Arthashastra also. So, Atharvana Veda got actually Sthapatya Veda as its Upaveda, but Arthashastra can also be considered as the Upaveda of Atharvana Veda. Ayurveda is the science of medicine and health. It provides knowledge on various aspects of health, including diagnosis and treatment of disease, pharmacology and toxicology, then anatomy and physiology, health and wellness practices. Ayurveda, the science of medicine, speaks of the process of extending the span of life of all individuals. It shows the way of life by which one can live full span of life with perfect health and happiness. It treats the ailments of people with the Aushathas made with Oshathis, with trees, their bark, leaves, fruits, flowers, etc. The medicines prepared with such things not only reduces the diseases but also increases the resistance of the body. These medicines include physical and mental health and the luster of the body. Such diseases which cannot be cured by any other methods or present day type of treatments can be fully cured by Ayurveda medicines, because Ayurveda treats the root of the disease, finds out the cause of the disease and completely removes and eradicates the root. So, completely the disease can be cured by the treatment of Ayurveda. Charaka Maharshi wrote Charaka Samhita, the first book on Ayurveda. This knowledge of Ayurveda is taught for the first time by Brahmadeva, God creator, to Devendra, the king of gods. From Devendra, Ashwini Devatas learnt this Ayurveda Vidya. Then from Ashwini Devatas, several Maharshis learnt this knowledge. Charaka Maharshi also learnt this Ayurveda. He spread it among human beings on the earth. Charaka Maharshi is considered to be the incarnation of Adisesha. The process of how Ayurveda came to earth is given in the book Bhava Prakasha. Susruta Samhita, written by great sage Susruta, is the first book on surgery. Susruta is considered as the father of surgery. Ayurveda views the body as a complex interconnected system where imbalances in one area can affect other parts of the body. Ayurveda speaks of three doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. If these three are in balance, the body would be very healthy. If any imbalance occurs in them, then the body would get affected by diseases. Ayurveda utilizes natural medicines including herbs, diet, yoga and massage to promote health and well-being. Ayurveda emphasizes preventive measures and maintains overall health rather than solely focusing on treating the diseases. Ayurveda recognizes the importance of the connection between the mind and the body and addresses both physical and mental well-being. Mind-body complex, it is said. So if mind is affected, the body gets affected. If the body is very healthy, mind also would be very healthy. Ayurveda gives importance to diet. To balance the three doshas, whole natural food should be taken. Ayurveda encourages regular exercises, adequate sleep, timely diet, stress management techniques, and spending time in nature. So many Ayurveda treatments involve using specific herbs and herbal preparations to remove the imbalances and promote healing. By using turmeric, adrak, coriander, green leaves, that is karvepaku we say in Telugu, then dhaniya, jeera, hing, pepper, etc. Many more items. With them, the diseases can be cured. So using honey is better than using sugar. Ayurveda is the treatment which removes the root cause of the disease. So if once it is cured, it will never recur. So Ayurveda gives Panchakarma process of treatment. It involves various therapies like doing massage, taking steam bath, sitting under the sunlight, and applying mud, especially river mud, to the body, taking bath, taking steam bath, etc. And also eating particular diet besides taking the medicines. Yoga and meditation are integral parts of Ayurveda treatment. Then they help us to be very calm and cool and reduce the mental stress and promote overall well-being. There are several benefits in taking Ayurveda treatment. It improves digestive system also and releases the stress, improves our immunity system. It detects the roots of the disease and treats. So the diseases once cured will never occur. And Dhanvantari, Ashwini Devatas are considered to be the presiding deities of this Ayurveda. So before taking Ayurveda treatment, the doctor and patient also should express their gratitude and bow down, do pranama to Dhanvantari and Ashwini Devatas. Now second one is Dhanurveda. Dhanurveda is the Upaveda of Yajurveda. Dhanurveda is archery and warfare. It deals with military strategies and tactics, then archery and other martial arts, then weapons and armor, battle techniques and formations, etc. Sages Parashurama, Dronacharya, Krupacharya, etc. are the greatest acharyas of Dhanurveda. Sri Ramachandra is Kodanda Rama. He always holds a great bow in hand to protect noble people and dharma and punish wicked people, Rakshasas and Atharma. Arjuna is the best Dhanushka, we say, archer. All five Pandavas, Karna, Ekalavya and many more others are very great warriors. In the olden days, all the kings and soldiers were great warriors who fought with the bow and arrows. Dhanuhu Veda, Dhanur Veda means those who know the art of using the bow and arrows. Well versed in shooting arrows. Dhanuhu means the bow. Veda means knowing, knowledge. So Dhanur Veda means the talent of using bow and arrows. In the modern age, we are using different varieties of warfare, using bombs and fighting underwater, fighting underwater, on the sky, on the land, etc. using guns and all, phalanx we say. So Dhanurveda plays a very crucial role in the education of Kshatriyas, warrior class people, and focused on both physical skills and military sciences. For Sri Ramachandra, after doing Upanayana, they taught him how to tie a sword to the waist, that is Churika Bandhana, they say. A lot of information about Dhanurvidya and the names of different astras and shastras are given in Srimad Ramayana, Sri Mahabharatam, and in the Puranas, and even in the Arthashastra. There are shastras, several shastras which give information about astras, shastras, and other varieties of items to be used for fighting, the sword, etc. They say ballemu and all, so many other items. So there are shastras and astras. Shastra means normal weapons, bows, arrows, etc. Astras are the weapons, that is arrows shooted with the chanting of mantras and inviting those devatas. For example, Brahmastra, Agneyastra, Nagastra, Varunastra, Sammohanastra, Manavastra, Narayanastra, Pasupatastra, Jrumpakastras, etc. Several astras are there. Praying the particular god and reciting the mantra, even if a blade of grass is shooted, that becomes that astra, even Brahmastra. That is the power of the mantras, the spells. Sages Bhrigu Maharshi, Vishwamitra Maharshi, Bharadwaja Maharshi, etc. explained about different shastras and astras. Dhanurveda means not just using bows and arrows. People fight with several weapons such as a dart or spear, ite we say. Then axe, goddali we say in Telugu. Then spear, called as ballemu. A trident, Ishvara holds the trident, Trishula. So everything related to warfare comes under Dhanurveda only. Now third Upaveda is Gandharva Veda. It is the Upaveda of Samaveda. It is considered to be the knowledge of Gandharvas. So we say Gandharva Gana. If any person on the earth is a great singer, we call him Gana Gandharva. In the modern age, Sri Ghantasala Venkateswara Rao Garu, Sri S.P. Balasubramanian Garu, Sri Balamurali Krishna, etc. are called as Gana Gandharvas. Sangita Shastra, the lore of singing, is developed from Samaveda. After performing the Yajna Yagadi Kratus, the Udgata does Samagana. That is, sings Samagana, Udgita. Samagana Priyaha Vai Devaha. The gods would be very much pleased by listening to Samagana. So, listening to Samagana yields the desired fruits of that yaga to the Yajamanis, those who do that yaga. Bharata Maharshi wrote a grantha called Natya Shastra. It explains about the knowledge of Sangita and Sahitya, music and literature. Gandharva Veda deals with the music and arts. It provides knowledge on music and dance, prose, poetry, literature, arts, crafts, and also aesthetics and beauty, etc. Sangita Shastra is a great Shastra on music. The great musicians, they teach about Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, the Sapta Swaras, Raga, Tala, Shruti, Laya, etc. to sing the songs. These Sapta Swaras are formed by the sounds made by animals and birds in the nature. The Sapta Swaras are Sa, Shadja, Ra, Rushabha, Ga, Gandharva, Ma, Madhyama, Pa, Panchama, Da, Daivata, and Ni, Nishada. These 7 notes form the foundation of Indian classical music, providing the framework for melodies and compositions. Indian classical music is very rich in its knowledge of Karnataka Sangeeta and Hindustani Sangeeta. Sangeetam speaks about raga, thala, then shruti, laya, etc. So raga is melodic framework that evokes emotions and moods. There are several ragas in music like Kalyani, Shankarabharana, Maya Malava Gaura, etc. raga, etc. ragas. Thala is rhythmic, cyclic notes that provide structure and timing, a sort of. So they are Aditala, Rupakatala, etc. With the hand, the singer puts the thala and noting down the time gap. So Shruti refers to the pitch of the tone of the notes sung in a song. It plays the role of creating emotions and adds depth to the music. Laya refers to the tempo or rhythm of the music. There are several instruments like veena, sitar, guitar, tabla, etc. besides so many vocal singing. So there are great singers and Vaggeyakaras like Tyagaraya, Shyamasastri, Annamacharya, Ramadasa, etc. several. Now the fourth one is Sthapatya Veda, the Upaveda of Atharvana Veda. It is known as Shilpa Shastra. It deals with architecture, engineering and construction. Architecture provides guidelines of designing and building temples, houses and other structures. Engineering covers various aspects of civil, mechanical and electrical, etc. Sthapatya Veda emphasizes the importance of aesthetics in architecture, including proportions, symmetry and ornamentation. Aesthetics refers to the concept of beauty. Sthapatya Veda's principles are applicable to architecture, residential architecture and urban planning, etc. Sthapatya Veda preserves the ancient traditional knowledge of architecture. It also possesses the knowledge of Vastu Shastra, the science of architecture and building design. Shilpa Shastra, the art of sculpture and craftsmanship, we can say, and iconography, the study of symbols and icons in art and architecture. Sthapatya Veda gives us the knowledge about the idols of gods, the process of establishing the idols of gods in the sanctorum. So that is of the temples, the Garbhagudi, as we say, of the temples, the most interior part of the temple. We know the greatness of the knowledge of great Sthapatis, and at this modern age, the great Sthapati, Sri Uppaluru Ganapati Shastri Sthapati, is well known to all of us. Arthashastra is an ancient Indian text that deals with statecraft, economics and politics. It is attributed to Kautilya Maharshi, Chanakya he is known as. So the great advisor of great monarch Chandragupta Maurya, we say, he belongs to Maurya Vamsha. Then statecraft deals with diplomacy and administration. Arthashastra discusses economics, politics, taxation and trade, etc. Politics deal with strategies for maintaining power, managing relationships and resolving conflicts, and gives the knowledge as to how to rule the kingdom. Arthashastra's principles and concepts have shaped Indian thought on statecraft and governance. Arthashastra discusses about the three Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha and Kama. Kautilya wrote a very great book on Arthashastra known as Kautilya's Arthashastra. Swasti.